Hi, my name is Chris Gore, and I'm working on a video game called the Sapphire Star. And if you could sponsor me on Patreon, that'd be awesome. The link is patreon.com/cgore. I'd like to talk about right now the Sublight drives. So basically like an impulse engine in Star Trek, right? So here's an example ship that I've got. This is a tiny little ship. It's basically about the size of a shuttle. If you see this thing up here, that's actually the Sublight drive. And this can get to about a quarter light speed. And I want to keep this game mostly scientifically reasonable, other than one or two things that I have to throw in to make it sci-fi. And one of the big things that I've added is humans have gravity technology in the game. So you don't need rotating components to get gravity. You can just have normal decks in a ship, even a small ship like this, and have normal Earth gravity. That also means you can have like structural integrity fields, and you can do really crazy accelerations and not turn the humans into little piles of pudding on the wall of the ship. One other thing that you can do if we had gravity technology is you can take a normal rocket, so that's basically what's going on here for the Sublight drive, is you can take a normal rocket. So assume that this is just like a simple motor that's shooting out some sort of propellant, but there's this torus here that's increasing the effective mass of the propellant coming out of the back of the rocket, effectively making it several thousand times more powerful rocket than it actually is. So you could get to orbit on a bottle rocket. So that's how this is working. And let me share the actual equation. The real world rocket equation is I never could pronounce this guy's name, but it's you get your delta V by taking the initial mass over the final mass, doing the natural logarithm of it, multiplying by the exhaust velocity of your rocket that you've got, and then it gives you your delta V. And you need a certain amount of delta V to get to orbit. You need a more delta V to get somewhere else, like the moon or Mars. But basically, the more delta V, the further you can get out in space. And if you've played Kerbal Space Program, this is one of the things they actually accurately model. Here's the delta V map for Kerbal, not for real life, right? So you start at Kerbin. Here's how much delta V you need to go from Kerbin to lower orbit. You need 4,500 meters per second to go low orbit to geostationary, yeah, and so forth. You can do that. Here's one for the real solar system. So it looks like you need 9.4 kilometers a second to get to low Earth orbit, and so forth. So if you want to go to geostationary, you need an extra 2.44. Oh, that's transfer, and then 1.47 to get geostationary. If you want to go to the moon, you need 0.68. So it's actually easier to go to the moon than it is to go geostationary. That's hilarious. Oh, well, no, that's moon transfer. And then from then you need 0.4, 0.68, 1.73. Okay, so it is more to get to the moon. If you instead wanted to go, let's say you wanted to go to Mars, you're going to have to go 9.4, 2.44, and so forth. And you basically add these all up along the path to Mars. And here's that equation again. Mass zero over mass final. I'm modifying it just by adding, therefore, a chi factor to the fuel mass, which is an exponent on that fuel mass. So the M0 is going to be the mass of the rocket itself plus the mass of the payload. So the rocket would be, in our case, the ship. The payload would be some people inside and whatever else they are carrying. And then you've got the amount of fuel that you're burning raised to some exponent divided by the mass final, which is just going to be these two added. But otherwise it's the same equation. I used AI to generate some useful mathematical functions for me. As an actual example, let's take a SpaceX Falcon Heavy to Mars. So the Falcon Heavy, the one that's currently flying right now, not the Starship, not SpaceX Starship, but SpaceX Falcon Heavy, could do a Mars mission if we wanted it to. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, the payload to Mars would be 37,000 pounds or 16 metric tons, 16.8 metric tons, 16,800 kilograms. But let's instead calculate, instead of an actual real Falcon Heavy, we want to carry that much to Mars, that much mass to Mars, and only use one Merlin engine. So what the Falcon Heavy actually has is 3 booster stages, each with 9 Merlins, so 27 Merlin engines. That's each one of these bells. let's figure out what just one of those could do. And actually, there's also a Merlin on the upper stage too. I think one. Can't remember if it was one or more. So on a single Merlin engine, you get 3,000 meters per second of exhaust velocity in vacuum. Let's just set this chi value to 2. And here's the payload we're taking to Mars. This is what we actually need to get up to. We end up only needing 1.7 kilograms of fuel versus on the first stage 287 metric tons of liquid oxygen and 123 metric tons of kerosene. So that's ending up being 410 metric tons of fuel in the first stage, and then a little bit more, another about a little over another 100 metric tons on the second stage. So like 500 metric tons versus we're only using 1.7 metric tons. So therefore you could literally probably get out of orbit on just a toy rocket if you have a good enough chi factor out of the gravitic component. You could take a bottle rocket to space, and therefore you could have a simple ship like this one with a pretty small engine and not much fuel running at like quarter of light speed. You will have to refuel, of course, but it's not like you're putting on millions of tons of fuel just to get to Mars. It's like filling up a car. But yeah, one last time, if you could support me on Patreon, that would help out a whole lot for the game, and there'll be various benefits for doing so. Thanks. Bye.